Hey, this is Ramsey and Dennis's unnamed podcast because we're totally uncreative and
A bit underprepared.
underprepared.
All right.
So we'll have a name hopefully by next broadcast.
You know, I kind of like the sound of uncreative and unprepared, but we'll discuss it. We'll workshop it.
Yeah. So today we want to talk passion projects and side hustles that we've had and hopefully generate some level of inspiration for you guys.
All right. So I guess you want to go first, or shall I?
I'll go first.
All
So back in 2014, no, not 2004. I'm off a decade.
Close enough.
Yeah, about 2004, I think. I started selling gold on RuneScape. And I still remember it was 50 cents per 1,000 gold. And by the time I graduated from high school, I had made something in the ballpark of $2,000 off of it.
Okay.
Yeah, helped pay for college the first very rough couple semesters.
Okay, not bad. Yeah, no, good to know. You're setting the bar pretty high, so fair warning, I did not rake in nearly as much with my side hustles in middle school or high school, but in middle school, one of the things that I started doing was I got really into origami in middle school. Like, I just have like one or two things at any given point throughout my life, and origami was one of those things for a little bit. So whenever I would finish an assignment, I would just sit there, pull out some paper, and just start folding away. And you know, this would attract the attention of other students who were like, whoa, can I have that? For $1. And you know what? They actually gave me $1. So then I said, all right, this works. Let's see what we can do with this. So I went home, figured out, I'm like, all right, I'm not paying for paper. Mom's not asking any questions about where it's going. So since my mom worked for the school system too, we'd usually have like different colored papers around too. So I was like, Mom, can I have some of the green and yellow paper? Sure. So I made an entire order sheet. So it's like, what type of origami product do you want? What colors do you want it in? And when do you need it by? And from there, I would just go around passing out order forms, and I'd say maybe $3 to $5 a week from different orders. And some of these were from teachers that were just like, oh, the entrepreneurial spirit of this one, sure, give me $5 worth. And I'd say for probably about a good quarter in middle school, that was a pretty nice racket. Until somebody bought one, took it apart and said, oh, that's how you make it, and then undercut all my prices. But that's showbiz.
Oh man, that's capitalism for you. Well, that's what China does, right? They just they reverse engineer the hard work that you put into something, and then they undercut prices, and then they call it creativity.
You know what? As far as I'm concerned, the market was already saturated at that point. I had sold to probably most of the people, if not in the school, in my class, and because of the fact that I had the social capital of being the original creator, I can take some solace in the fact that their business did not do as well. And you know, I was able to get myself a couple snacks from the vending machine, and that's what it's all about at the end.
Did you ever do a balance sheet?
I did not. I guess I did a balance sheet as best as a middle schooler who hadn't taken any financial literacy could. So I had like, you know, however much I was making at the end of each week, which has been lost to the time because I'd usually print out an Excel spreadsheet and then just write it in my hand. No idea where those are now, but
yeah. So my dad is a businessman, and so I had a little bit of that background of how you keep a balance sheet, and I kept a balance sheet on paper for all my sales, and that's kind of how I know that I made a little over 2,000 actually, and it was because I had this one guy who would bring in $20 almost every single day, for I think it was like 40,000 gold. And on RuneScape, I had the top like skill sets in none of the combat related skill sets. Like I had a super high like mining and fishing and all that other stuff. So I could go and like mine and fish and get all of these materials that people would pay a pretty penny for. Primarily mining, because then you could get your hands on like I think it was called like mithril ore, which you could then I had smelting, like a really high smelting, so I could create like high level gear, and a lot of people really were dependent on somebody who could do that. And so I kept a balance sheet every single day, and I would tally them after my sheet would get full, and I had several sheets and then a total sheet for all of them, and this was all on paper.
Yep.
But yeah, this was I started around like 2004 when I was a freshman in high school.
Mine would have been, I think, 2011 to 2013, I think, constitutes the mistake of my life that was middle school. But I'm trying to think, what else?
Yep.
What else did I do while I was there? the talent show. So I didn't perform, not because I didn't want to, but because the fact that I realize now, and even then, my ambitions were usually like a lot more than like the time that I was allotted, and it was like a matter of trying to figure out what I was going to do. So one kid had like a small character that he just like drawn different things around the school. So I'm like, oh, okay, we should make an animated short, maybe a minute or two for the talent show. Says the guy with no animation background prowess or the ability to draw. Needless to say, that didn't wind up making it into the talent show. But what I did have then was a camera. Not this camera. It was much lower in quality, super grainy. It still used a DVD to record everything, and I could usually only get, I think, 30 minutes of footage on it. But I took that camera to the talent show, set up my tripod in the middle, nobody's permission, mind you, just said, I'm going to record this. And then after the talent show was over, I started selling custom-made DVDs that like even had like the little menu and everything that I put together in Premiere Pro for, I think it was $5 a pop. And you know what? Even if because of the fact that I had all the footage individually, and once I got it into Premiere, could break it down into individual performances. People had the option, if they just wanted to buy their performance, I'd sell it to them for less than the whole $5 disc. Or if people wanted the whole talent show, they could get that as well. And I think that was maybe $50 that I got from that, which was just a really fun time. I did that for 2 of the talent shows that I was at that school for, and it was a good time.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I don't have anywhere near as many side hustles as you did. Very few. I think actually you could probably count my side hustles as 2. So I've had the RuneScape one, and then I did a little bit in Diablo. More like, but that was all part of the whole thing. I counted all those things together where I would sell accounts. But my second side hustle would be this, where we're sitting in right now. So I ended up buying a 6-bedroom, 6-bathroom house. And I'm house hacking, so I'm living in one room, and I'm renting out 4 of the other rooms. I didn't want to cramp it up by, pushing a 5th person into the rental. And it's a pretty nice house. It's very close to the city, and hopefully, like, when it's all paid off, I'll have a freaking giant house that I can just enjoy and live in.
Yeah, no, I can definitely say that it's a very nice house. He just gave me the tour. This is my first time here. It's working out for him. Like, he's making it work. How's the experience? Like, what are your roommates like?
So I've been super thorough in the vetting process.
Gotcha.
So I would much rather the house sit totally 100% empty than to bring a single problematic person. So the vetting process that I've put in place has been perfect in terms of vetting out like the problematic personality types.
Gotcha.
And so everybody that we've had living here has been phenomenal. Everybody has been helping in like some of the cleaning, which they don't really need to do, and everybody just steps up. Excuse me. Things like taking out the trash, I've taken up myself to be the person responsible for, and they step up and they have been helping a lot with it. And at the end of the day, I'm actually I haven't broken even yet, but I'm getting there. Like in terms of like profits, well, actually, I think I'm currently cash positive in terms of tax, because like what's weird is like, so like you have to, when you're looking at the tax rules, like I can only count 80% of the expenditure because I'm living in the house. So because 5 people total living here, 4 renters and me, only 80% can be counted towards tax. So in terms of my costs, that's how I would have to deduct it. And the 100% of the profits would go into it. So when you look at it that way, I'm actually cash positive. But in terms of total costs that I'm having and total profit, I'm not quite 100% cash positive yet.
Gotcha.
But it's getting there, and I think, and it's partially because of a slow start, right? Because I had to furnish it. It was a brand new construction, so I had to put up blinds and curtains, and it was totally empty when I got it. So it was a lot of work getting it totally furnished and ready to go.
Gotcha. No, and it's come along very well. I can say on a smaller scale. So the place that I'm living right now, which is a small condo in Maryland, it's actually me and, we got like 2 new roommates during the summer, 3 of my friends. So my dad, I guess, could be seen as doing a similar version of house hacking, but instead he usually would just buy a condo that had been foreclosed in the area and then flip it real quick. But because of the fact that it was very close to my school, he said, "Hey, do you want to rent a room in this one? I'll put it up for you for just the actual cost of the actual what is it? The rent, what the actual competitive rate for the rent would be."
Yep.
And he'd take care of the tax. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's a very good deal, but I'll do you one better. what if some of my friends also move in here? So that way you'll actually be breaking even, if nothing else, on the taxes and on I think there was something else like the condominium, like the condo fees, and because of that, it has been, I think, usually two or three of my other friends have just been cycling in or out. Shout out to Joel Rogers if you need some voice work done. He is trying to get his start as a voice actor. Very talented guy. Look him up. And it's been a very good time. And because of the fact that I thankfully have friends that I'm like, I've had the luxury of going to school with friends that I'm like, we've known each other since high school. I know that it might be somewhat difficult to live with you, but I know that I can live with you. So it's been a very good experience all around.
So you're just renting to people who you know.
Yes, thankfully I did have the luxury of being able to choose and say, "Hey, you're going to school with me. Why don't we, huddle together for warmth and live together?" And it's been a learning experience, because I'd say that a lot of us too, starting as, have never lived on our own. This is the first place, so there were a lot of growing pains associated with, like, okay, the trash is overflowing, but none of us are taking it out. But if we mention it, then the question becomes, why didn't you take it out? So then it almost became like a game of chicken with the trash sometimes. But I'd say after, I think he moved in 2017, 3 years of it, it's nice now. We've actually we've gotten into it. We've gotten into like an actual rhythm of everybody's pitching in, and it's a very good time.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's the biggest issue about having roommates. One of the things that I did to kind of resolve it here is, I just basically took the initiative of assuming that I'm going to be the one, running the dishwasher, emptying the dishwasher, taking out the trash, cleaning the common areas. I expect everybody's cleaning up after themselves within their own areas, as well as cleaning up after themselves when they're doing things like cooking. But in terms of just, there is like a factor of where things get dirty on their own from like dust collecting. And I take it on myself as it's my responsibility to clean. And whenever someone steps up, it's always a pleasant surprise, and it happens quite a bit. And I don't expect it, but when it happens, it's great, because it takes a good amount off my plate. Because if you got to think like, I'm taking out the trash for 5 people total. That fills every other day or every 3 days, type of thing. And sometimes like the big trash can outside gets totally full on some weeks, especially like when we have a move-in for a new tenant. And I treat it like a business, and the people that I'm bringing in, even if they are my friends, which I have brought over friends, as well as brought people over who I become friends with, but at the end of the day, I still treat it like a business. Gotcha. And there is zero expectation, and I make that very clear from the beginning, there's zero expectation that there's going to be favors out there, but I try my best to be fair in how I do things. And I think I've been fair with most people in the past, and I think that reflects in the fact that I do have a tenant who actually moved out and then moved back in, because their life situation changed. So in terms of recidivism, I've had really good recidivism of returning to my. I don't know if that's a good word to use, because they mostly use that in like prison population. So I don't know if that's the best, but I guess like return rate for my customers, I guess, is really good. And I try to be fair with everybody, so that at the end of the day, I want people to feel like they can come here to rest and not have to worry about all the crap that's going on in life. And I'm pretty. I think I do it in a way where people are happy to come back, and I think it shows, because I had one tenant moved out because life situations changed, and then moved back in because life situations changed again, and I'm glad that they moved back as well, because they were great tenants the first time.
No, I fully understand. Joel, the one that I shouted out, who's trying to get his start in voice acting, he actually was originally going to be moving out, he thought this summer or at the end of this year. Then, the world kind of went pear-shaped, so he said that he's probably going to be staying for longer. And, I really do enjoy having Joel as a roommate. Not just saying that because I think he's going to watch this, but legitimately, he has easily been my favorite person to room with the entire time too. And I think that it's just been really enjoyable having the opportunity to have somebody there. So like every now and then it's just like, hey, anything going on? No. You want to order a pizza? Just watch a movie? Yeah. So having that option, it is actually very fun.
Yeah. Well, what's also nicer about doing a house hacking situation is that you get the ability to effectively live for a lower cost or even free. In your case, I'm assuming it's just a lower cost, right?
My father said that until I get my degree, he will let me live there for free, but that he is very much anticipating this December when I've got my diploma, when he can finally start giving me a bill. And, you know, I respect it.
Excuse me. Yeah. So I guess like he's still paying out of pocket for you to live there. So he's not totally breaking even in terms of what he's costing him versus what he's making from your roommates.
I believe he should be. I think he should be either very small profit or at the very least breaking even. But because of the fact that he is the way that he is, he doesn't fully let on. But I'm fairly certain that it's at the very least a break even, because I know that the condo fees should be covered. I'm not sure about the taxes though, but from what I remember, I think it should be at least breaking even.
Okay, so he doesn't even have a mortgage, which that simplifies it. So what I did with this house is that I put down just over 20%, like it was like 22%, and I ended up, you know, I have a low interest rate and I'm not paying it off any faster than I need to. And the whole point is that the rent's going to come and cover all of those costs for me. And I'm going to come out from it basically living for a very slight profit in his house. And the benefit is I get to have a much nicer room than I would if I were to rent an apartment or purchase a townhouse or something like that. I get much better living conditions.
Gotcha.
I mean, I have like a TV mounted over here, and you can't really see in the camera, but the bed's over there. And I got a really big pillow that I can just put on the back of the bed where I can just sit up and watch my TV, and it's a really comfortable setup. And over here I got my L-shaped desk with my work computer here and my personal computer over here, and I can just get everything I need to get done in this small little space. And I have a much larger room, 2 walk-in closets, one for all my military gear and one for all my personal gear, personal clothes, and it's space that I just wouldn't have if I had like a townhouse. In fact, that's what I looked at before I bought this house. I was looking at townhouses, and nothing came close in terms of like, you know, what's it going to cost me? How much money can I make off of it? And how much space are we going to get at the end of the day, like out of it? And nothing comes close at all. Like a townhouse, you'd get significantly less space. It would cost you, in terms of how much it would cost you to how much money you'd make off of it, in terms of like from rent, just wouldn't be there. Too many townhomes have like baby-sized rooms. You can't rent that to a grown adult. Like, what are you going to put somebody in there on a cot? Like, that's the only thing that would fit. Like, a normal-sized bed wouldn't just, like a little kid's bed would fit, but like an adult bed, like that would be the size of the whole room, if you're lucky. If you're lucky. And so, it just didn't work. So I had to look at things from a very unusual perspective when I was looking for this house, and it was tough to find it. I started looking at condos as well, but the condo fees really like throw a wrench into the whole thing because they're so expensive.
Yeah.
And so many houses, especially in this area, have like an HOA, which, yeah, yeah, that you know exactly what I'm talking about. And this house does not have an HOA. That's another amazing thing about when I bought this house. No HOA, so I have nothing really hindering my ability to do business.
Gotcha.
As well as be able to exist freely in my own property. All right, hey guys, we're going to cut it off after the discussion of side hustles, and as we transition to the second topic, which is HOAs.
Yep.
And so we're going to film this in a podcast style, but when we're going to upload it, we're going to upload it by topic so that we're not drudging on like a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, so we're still hitting our stride with this one, but we felt like this would be a better way to organize it. 3 and 4 will probably be a lot more organized than this, but we're getting it. We're getting it.
Yeah, be patient with us as we figure this out. First dip into YouTube, so figuring it all out.
We will see you guys next week.